Hey, what's happening, YouTube? Just a quick upload this morning. It's a clip from Glitch in the Code channel, Richard Willett, interviewing a ex-police officer guy. So interesting to hear what the clip I'm sharing is what he's saying regarding the COVID restrictions, laws, mandates, whatever we are calling them. But yeah, that's have a listen. I'll leave a link if you want to go and watch the rest of the interview. I would recommend it. I'm about halfway through. But yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching. Peace out.
Now, what you have then is people who have no experience, who after 2 years are now supervising people who have no experience, and the supervisors have very little experience. So they're quite easily manipulated, they're quite easily led. So, one of the main reasons that I left was because I lost faith in the system, and it was really, really turning me into something that I wasn't. And it's only really when I stepped away from it that I realised what I'd become compared to what I was. And it's really not a good environment. But you will always have the rogue element in anywhere. But some of the actions and some of the way in which the police have behaved, and they're still behaving, issuing tickets that is not against the law, arresting people for no offence. As soon as they get to the police station, these people are being released. Why they're being released? Because they haven't committed any crime. Now, these officers should be individually sued and taken to court every time, and that will stop it. It's only because people really don't understand what the law is, and we spoke before the programme about the word mandatory. Mandatory does not mean law. Mandatory is a command, but it is not law. Now, there are many examples going through this whole pandemic where we can see that the government has not followed a statutory instrument. So therefore, it is not law. So when an officer comes up to you and says, I want your details, I'm going to fine you for not wearing a mask, it is not against the law not to wear a mask. So you have the right to turn around and say, I am not giving you my details. If you do give the details and you are fined, then do not sign the fine. Because if you sign it on the bill of exchange, you then become liable for that IOU. So the judge says, you've signed the IOU, so give me the money that you signed for. And that really is how the system works. But the police are not taught either. They have a briefing from senior officers who turn around and say, if you see somebody not wearing a mask, do this. Or if you see somebody not socially distancing, do this. And they think that it is legislation. They think that it is law, and it's not.
Michael, they really that clueless as to what?
Yes.
Jesus.
Yes. If you, it's the same. You see, you are only as good as your training. Now, when I speak to doctors or spoken to doctors, and I say to them, how much training did you have on nutrition? And one of the answers were 20 minutes. So out of 7 years training, you get 20 minutes of nutrition. Yeah. So how can you advise me on health?
Sure.
And you go to a police officer, and I was the same, and you say, what is the difference between common law, acts, and statutory? They don't know, because they are not taught. They are taught the definitions, theft, you dishonestly appropriate property that belongs to someone with the intention of permanently depriving that person of that property. So in other words, that is the definition of theft. So that is what you understand as theft. It doesn't matter if it's an act or if it's common law or anything. You know what is theft, you know what is robbery, you know what is burglary, you know what is assault, you know the levels of degree of assault. But you don't think, is it a common law? Is it statute law? Because it is just a blanket law. So the police are not sufficiently trained in terms of what they're doing. I was horrified when I was there to see officers who had been out of training for 4 or 5 months, even less, dealing with rape cases. They hadn't got the first clue about forensic evidence, and they were being sent to these. Now, most people, even if you speak to Michael Mansfield, one of the top QCs in this country, he will tell you that every case, well, the majority of cases, or nearly every case that he wins, is based upon the integrity of the evidence, because he understands that he can't argue with the evidence, but it can defeat you in court by the way in which you've obtained that evidence.
Yeah.
So if you have somebody who has no clue about forensic evidence and cross-contamination and how to word it on the statement afterwards, then you are going to lose the case at that stage because of the integrity of the evidence. And it's absolutely horrific, the amount of, you shouldn't be put in that position, but the victim shouldn't be put in that position either. And it was just absolutely horrific, the amount of fraudulent figures that I saw, with crime figures, with response times, we've seen our officers coming into our parade saying, you will initiate a stop and search on people who are walking dogs and who are jogging in the park. Well, that's illegal.